I never thought I'd be the guy to catch his wife cheating, but here I am, sitting on the edge of it all trying to make sense of what I found. Her name is Jessica, and we've been married for about 8 years now. We have a daughter, Emily, who's just finishing high school, and honestly, things seemed normal, at least on the surface. Jessica was always a little bitchy, always quick to dismiss my concerns or brush off anything that didn't suit her mood. But I guess I was blind, or maybe just too comfortable to see the signs. At first, it was little things. She started coming home later than usual, saying she had extra meetings or teacher conferences at Emily's school. I didn't think much of it until I noticed her phone acting strange. Her messages were more secretive, her calls hidden behind a passcode she refused to give me. She'd get defensive whenever I asked about the phone, shot me down with some snarky comment about trust and privacy. Classic Jessica, always deflecting, always spinning a story to keep her secrets hidden. Then came the real eye-openers. She started disappearing on weekends, claiming she was out with friends or running errands, but I'd catch her in little lies and I'd start to feel a nagging suspicion. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore the gut feeling that something was off. Still, I kept quiet, trying to play it cool, thinking maybe I was overreacting, maybe it was just my paranoia. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. It all came crashing down about 2 weeks ago. Emily had been acting strangely too. She was evasive, defensive when I asked about her plans or her mother's whereabouts. I knew the school was involved somehow because Jessica had been taking her there quite a bit. I decided to check the house security footage after a break-in nearby made me realize how vulnerable we were. Maybe it was paranoia, but I figured, better safe than sorry. So I went through the security tapes, and what I saw made my stomach drop. What I saw made me feel like I'd been hit by a truck. There on the footage was Jessica, walking into the school during parent-teacher conferences, but not just that. She was sneaking into a room with Mr. Carter, the high school principal. I saw her pressing her body against him, them sharing a kiss, then heading into a classroom. The camera angle was odd, but enough to confirm it. Jessica was cheating on me with the school principal during a time when I thought she was at her teacher conference. It wasn't just a quick kiss either. They looked like they'd been at it for a while, getting cozy in the classroom like a couple of teenagers sneaking around. I sat there, stunned, staring at the screen. My mind raced. How could she lie so flawlessly? How could she not think I'd find out? I never thought Jessica would be capable of this kind of betrayal, especially with one of Emily's teachers. It felt like my world was collapsing. I mean, I knew she was a bitch. She's always been manipulative, good at hiding her true self. But this was next-level betrayal. The kind of thing that shatters your sense of security, your trust. I felt rage, heartbreak, confusion, and deep disappointment all at once. How did I miss the signs? How did I not see it coming? I kept replaying the footage in my head, trying to find some moment where I could have caught her earlier. But it was already too late. I remember feeling a strange mix of numbness and anger. That's when I knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I had to confront her, face her, ask her why. I didn't want to just lose everything in silence, but I also knew that whatever I said, whatever explanation she'd give, wouldn't undo what I saw. She lied about everything, about her meetings, about her closeness with Emily's teachers, about her life with me. And now I was left with nothing but a shattered sense of trust and a decision to make. Do I forgive her? Do I walk away? Or do I find a way to get my revenge? That's where I am now, just trying to piece it all together and figure out what comes next. After I saw the footage, I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the screen, replaying that kiss, those secret meetings, her body pressed against Mr. Carter like she was trying to erase me from her mind. I felt like I'd been punched repeatedly, each hit more brutal than the last. My stomach was tied in knots, and I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind. Jessica had always been a little bitchy, dismissive, quick to dismiss my feelings, but I never thought she'd betray me like this, especially not with someone involved in Emily's school. I remember feeling a strange sense of numbness, like a fog had settled over me. I didn't want to believe it at first, kept telling myself I was misinterpreting the footage. Maybe I was jumping to conclusions. But deep down, I knew the truth. Jessica had been lying about everything, her whereabouts, her meetings, her supposed overwork. And now I had proof that she was unfaithful, reckless, and betrayally dishonest. The next morning my mind was racing. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't ready. I paced around the house, trying to think of what to say, how to approach her without losing my temper. I decided to wait until she came home from whatever meeting she was claiming she had. I wanted her to face the evidence, to see the hurt and betrayal in my eyes when I called her out. When she finally walked through the door, her face was defensive, as usual, brushing past me with that dismissive attitude. I blocked her way, and she looked at me with that typical bitchy glare that she always reserved for moments she thought she could get away with something. I just stared at her, my voice trembling but steady. "So, Jessica," I said, holding up my phone with the footage paused on the kiss, "care to explain what this is?" Her eyes widened for a split second, then she quickly recovered, those bitchy lips curling into a sneer. "What the hell are you talking about? That's nonsense. You're seeing things, probably just some stupid prank or a bad joke." I shook my head slowly, feeling the anger boil over. "No, this is real. I saw it with my own eyes. You cheating on me with Mr. Carter during parent-teacher conferences. You've been lying to me about everything. How long has this been going on? How many times?" Jessica crossed her arms, rolling her eyes, and snorted. "Oh, come on. You're so paranoid. You're always accusing me of stuff, and I'm sick of it. You're overreacting as usual. Maybe I just needed some excitement, a little fun. It doesn't mean anything. You're making a huge deal out of nothing." That's when I lost it. I yelled at her, telling her how she'd shattered my trust, how she'd disrespected our marriage and our family. I told her I couldn't believe she'd lie to my face after I'd trusted her all these years. She just looked at me with that smirk, like she was mocking me, making me feel even smaller. She kept insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that I was blowing things out of proportion, that she never meant to hurt me. But the footage didn't lie, and I knew that whatever she was saying was just more bullshit to cover her tracks. I won't lie. Inside, I felt crushed, angry, betrayed, and humiliated all at once. I felt like my whole world was crumbling around me. I couldn't believe she'd do this, especially with someone so close to Emily. The thought that our daughter's teacher had been involved made me feel sick. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of disappointment, trying to hold onto the last shreds of my dignity as she kept spinning her lies. That confrontation was just the beginning. I knew I had to decide what to do next, but honestly, I was too stunned to think. Clearly, all I knew was that my wife had destroyed our marriage with her lies, her cheating, her betrayal. And I was left there, standing in the wreckage, wondering how I was supposed to pick up the pieces of a life I thought was solid, only to find it was built on lies. After the initial confrontation, everything with Jessica changed. She continued to deny everything, even as I threw the evidence in her face. Her attitude was a mix of defiance and that bitchy smirk she always wore when she thought she was winning an argument, but I saw through it. That smirk was just her way of dismissing how much she'd hurt me, like she didn't care. Honestly, it infuriated me even more. I started to think about what I should do. Part of me wanted to explode, to shout and scream and threaten her right then and there. But I knew that wouldn't solve anything. Instead, I decided I needed a plan, an actual plan, not just blind rage. I needed to understand her next move, to see if she'd keep lying or admit what she'd done. That's when I remembered I still had a few friends who knew the school's security system pretty well. Maybe I could get more proof or at least some clarity. I spent the next few days watching her every move, trying to catch her in another lie or slip-up. She was acting weird, more bitchy and dismissive, snapping at Emily, ignoring me completely. Emily, of course, was oblivious at first, but I could see she was confused. She looked up to her mother, but I saw her starts of doubt creeping in. Jessica was pushing everyone away, and I wondered how long that could last before everything unraveled. Meanwhile, I managed to get the security footage from the school, with some help from a friend who worked in the IT department. When I saw the full clip, I realized it was worse than I thought. Jessica hadn't just kissed Mr. Carter. It looked like they had planned to meet more often. The footage showed multiple sneaky visits, and I could tell from her body language she knew she was doing something wrong. The looks she exchanged with him were a mix of lust and arrogance, like she thought she was untouchable. That made me even angrier. But I didn't just want to sit on this. I wanted to make her see what she was risking, what she'd thrown away. So I devised a plan. I knew she'd keep lying, so I decided to confront her again, but this time with proof she couldn't deny. I planned to take the evidence directly to her, to show her that I wasn't going to let her get away with this. I wanted her to realize how much I'd found out, how much I knew about her cheating. When I finally sat her down again, I pulled out the footage on my phone, feeling my hands shake a little. "Jessica," I said calmly but firmly, "you've been lying to me for months. I found out the truth. This," I paused, letting her see the clip of her and Mr. Carter kissing, "this is real. This isn't just some misunderstanding. You're cheating on me, and not just with some random guy, but with someone involved in Emily's school. How could you do this? How could you throw everything away like this?" Her face went red, then pale, and she spun a story quick. "It's not what it looks like," she said, voice rising. "You're overreacting. It's just sex, just a mistake. It doesn't mean I love him or that I want to leave you. I cut her off. "Save it. Save your bullshit. I saw the footage. I know you've been sneaking around, lying about where you've been. How long has this been going on? How long have you been betraying me?" Jessica's composure cracked for a moment, but she quickly regained that bitchy smirk. "You don't know anything. I'm sick of your accusations. You're paranoid. You're jealous. Maybe you're the one with the problem, not me." That was when I realized I couldn't keep going in circles. Her excuses, her lies, they all sounded pathetic. I knew I had to make a decision. I was hurt, yes, but I was also furious. I felt humiliated, betrayed, and angry enough to do something drastic. I decided I'd give her one last chance to come clean, or I'd take action. I wanted her to know that I wasn't going to be played like a fool anymore. That night, I went to bed with a pounding heart, knowing things had changed forever. I didn't know what the future would bring, but one thing was clear. Jessica's lies and betrayal had torn us apart, and I was determined to figure out whether we could rebuild or if I should just walk away. All I knew was that I couldn't remain silent anymore. The truth was out, and it was only a matter of time before everything exploded. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. The sting of betrayal was sharper than ever, but I also felt a strange clarity. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. Jessica was already on the defensive, digging her heels in, trying to deny the obvious. I realized I had to be more direct, more decisive. No more hiding or softening the blow. She needed to see I was serious. I waited for her to get out of the shower, then called her into the living room. She looked annoyed, that bitchy smirk still plastered on her face, like she thought she could brush off what I had shown her. But I was done playing nice. I sat her down and put the footage from the previous night on my laptop screen. "Jessica," I said evenly, "you're not going to like what I have to tell you. I've got proof of everything. This isn't just some mistake or a fling. You've been cheating on me with Mr. Carter, the high school principal, during parent-teacher conferences, and I know about the other times too." Her face twisted and she tried to brush it off. "I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. You're making things up. I don't know why you're doing this." I shook my head, frustration boiling over. "No, Jessica, I've seen the footage. I saw you sneaking into that classroom with him, pressing your body against him, kissing. You've been lying to me for months, and I want to know why. Why did you do it? Why betray our family like this?" She crossed her arms, her voice dripping with contempt. "Look, I told you sex. It's just sex. I was bored, and honestly, he's more interesting than you. Maybe you should take a look at yourself before accusing me of all this. Maybe I'm the one who needs excitement, not you." Her words hit me like a punch, but I stayed calm. I knew I'd get more from her if I kept my cool. "You think this is just about sex? You're lying to yourself. You're Little Miss Perfect with your fake excuses, but the truth is you've been unfaithful, and I want to know how long this has been going on. How many times have you seen him?" She looked away, trying to act like I wasn't worth her time. "I don't owe you an explanation. I made a mistake, that's all. I didn't mean for it to get this far. You're making a huge deal out of nothing." I couldn't believe her. Her lies had become so automatic, so rehearsed. I felt my fists clench, anger boiling beneath my skin. "Nothing, nothing. Jessica, you're messing around with our daughter's principal. Do you even hear yourself? You're supposed to be her mother. How do you even look yourself in the mirror right now?" She snapped back at me, her voice sharp. "You don't know anything about me. I do what I want, and if I want to have sex with a man who excites me, that's my choice. It doesn't mean I love him. It's just sex, that's all it's ever been." I stared at her, feeling a mixture of disgust and despair. How could she be so callous? How could she dismiss what she did as just sex? She was completely ignoring the weight of her betrayal, the damage she caused our family, our daughter. I knew I had to make her understand that this was more than just a fling. I needed her to see the real consequences. I finally told her, "Look, Jessica, I'm done listening to your lies. I want you out of this house. I can't live with a wife who thinks cheating on her family is just a game. You're not just hurting me, you're breaking our family apart." She looked furious now, and her bitchy attitude only hardened. "Fine. If you're so perfect, then why don't you leave? I don't need you, and I sure as hell don't need your drama." Her words stung, but I knew I couldn't back down. I told her I'd take some time to think, to figure out what was best for everyone. I also decided I'd have a serious talk with Emily, let her know what was going on, and see how she was holding up. My mind was racing. This was just the start. I had to plan what came next, whether that meant fighting for the marriage or walking away for good. But one thing was clear. Jessica's betrayal had turned our life upside down, and I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine anymore. Not after what I'd seen, not after what she'd done. Over the next few days, everything in my life felt like it was spiraling out of control. Jessica continued to act like nothing had changed. She went about her day, bitching at Emily, acting like she was the victim. But I wasn't buying it. I saw through her crocodile tears and fake apologies. Deep down, I knew she didn't feel remorse. She only cared about saving herself from the mess she created. I spent hours thinking about what to do next. I knew I couldn't keep going on like this, pretending everything was okay. I decided I had to get some clarity, so I reached out to a divorce lawyer just to understand my options. My mind was made up. I wasn't going to stay with someone who lied so blatantly and cheated so recklessly. I was angry, yes, but more than that, I was hurt. I felt betrayed to my core. How could someone I trusted so much do this to me? To Emily. Meanwhile, I also had a long talk with Emily that I knew I had to do. She was only 17, but I could see she was confused, hurt, and unsure of what to think. I sat her down, told her that her mom had been unfaithful, and explained that sometimes adults make mistakes, but that didn't mean we had to stay in a bad situation. I told her I loved her, that I was there for her no matter what, and that we'd figure everything out. She looked at me with big eyes, tears threatening to fall. I held her, promising I'd protect her no matter what. That night I sat alone in my room, reflecting on everything. The betrayal was worse than I'd ever imagined. I kept asking myself how Jessica could be so callous. Did she even care about us? About Emily? The more I thought about her coldness, her lies, her betrayal, the more I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't let her get away with this. I had to take control of the situation, for my own sanity and for Emily's future. The decision wasn't easy, but it became clear. I was going to confront her one last time, not to plead or beg, just to let her know I was done. I wanted her to understand that her actions had consequences. I was tired of being the fool, the one who kept giving her chances. It was time for the final move. I arranged to have her meet me at a neutral place the following day. I told her I had something important to tell her, but I refused to let her manipulate me anymore. I wanted her to see that I was serious. This was the end of the line. I knew this would be the most difficult conversation of my life, but I also knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it clearly was. I'd caught her cheating, I'd confronted her, and now it was time to decide whether I was going to try to save what was left or finally walk away. Either way, I was done being played for a fool. As I prepared myself for what was to come, I felt a strange mixture of relief and dread. The betrayal had cut deep, but maybe now I could finally start to heal. Or maybe I'd finally get the closure I needed to walk away forever. Either way, I knew I wouldn't be the same man after this. Jessica's lies had opened a door I'd never wanted to walk through, and now I was finally stepping through it, ready or not. The day of the final confrontation arrived, and I felt a strange calm settle over me. I had spent the last few days preparing, gathering my thoughts, and trying to steel myself for whatever Jessica was going to throw at me. I knew she'd lie again, try to manipulate the situation, but I was done playing her game. I was tired of being the fool, tired of feeling betrayed, and most of all tired of pretending everything was okay when it was. I met her at that small, quiet coffee shop downtown, some neutral ground where we both could be somewhat civil. She looked annoyed, that bitchy smirk on her face, like she thought she could still manipulate me into backing down. But I didn't give her that power anymore. I looked her straight in the eyes, laid the evidence on the table, and told her. "It's done. I'm done with your lies, Jessica," I said calmly but firmly. "I know about the affair, I know how long you've been cheating, and I know you've been lying to me about everything. I can't trust you anymore, and I don't want to be with someone who thinks they can play me like this." Her eyes flickered with a mixture of anger and panic, but she kept her composure. "You're overreacting. You don't understand what's really going on. I did it because I was bored, and I don't love Mr. Carter." "This doesn't mean anything," I cut her off. "Stop, just stop. I've seen the footage. I've heard your lies. You're not the Jessica I married. You're just a woman who threw everything away for a quick thrill. I'm tired of your excuses. I want a divorce. I want out of this mess." She huffed, trying to dismiss me, but I was done listening. I told her I'd already spoken to a lawyer, that I'd be filing for divorce, and that I wanted her gone from our lives. I told her that Emily and I deserved better, that I'd do everything I could to protect her from Jessica's damage. As I got up to leave, Jessica finally broke. Her bitchy mask cracked, and she looked at me with desperation. "You're making a mistake. You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I found someone who excites me, someone who actually gives me what I want. You'll regret this." I stared at her, feeling nothing but cold resolution. "No, Jessica, I won't regret walking away from a woman who could do this to her own family. You lost the right to be part of our lives when you decided to cheat and lie. I hope you realize what you've thrown away." Walking out that day, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders, even as my heart ached deep inside. I knew it wouldn't be easy. I knew Jessica would try to manipulate Emily, try to win her back, maybe even come crawling back, begging for forgiveness. But I also knew that I had to do what was best for my daughter and for myself. In the aftermath, I focused on rebuilding. I hired a lawyer, filed for divorce, and made sure Emily was surrounded by people who loved her and could give her stability. Jessica was still trying to save face, still talking shit about me, but I didn't care anymore. Her betrayal had done its damage, and I was finally ready to move on. Looking back, I realize I've learned some hard lessons. Trust is fragile, and betrayal cuts deeper than I ever thought possible. But I also learned something important. I am stronger than I thought. I don't need someone who lies and cheats to be happy. I just need to be honest with myself, and that's what I've finally done. So to anyone out there going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs. And when the truth finally hits you, face it head on. Because hiding from it only makes everything worse. I'm still healing, but I know now that I'll come out of this stronger. And someday, I'll find happiness again, better than I ever thought possible after losing everything I thought was forever.